Morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining us from. Welcome to another edition of a special echo session of the user series that we have regarding the laboratory diagnostic services across the continent. My name is Mashate Silva. I'm glad I'll be your moderator for this session and also will be taking part in making part of the presentation during this special echo session. As usual, we have the in-house procedures that we follow. One, we have the option of interpretation from English to French. We request you colleagues who would like to use the French language, please use the available function to access that service. We also encourage all colleagues who are joining the session that in case you have any question, any clarification or contribution to make, please feel free to use the chat option that we have on the Zoom platform. This is going to be a 1-hour session, and we hope to discuss and dialogue on a couple of things. This time we have a very special topic that we'll be discussing. It's a topic that has received contribution from a wide range of partners, and ASLM appreciates the support provided by all these partners. So our topic today is about the Diagnostic Hub, and we are talking about its role in accelerating the uptake of diagnostic innovations, such that we increase access of the community to these diagnostic services. During this session, it's going to have 3 segments. The first segment, we will present a background to this Diagnostic Evidence Hub. Then we will have a presentation from the World Health Organization from one of our colleagues, Dr. Susie Braniff. She will be presenting to share with us information from the World Health Organization. And then from there, we will have an opportunity to take you through a demonstration of how the Diagnostic Evidence Hub can be utilized and be utilized by the different stakeholders. So please, for the next 1 hour, we hope you'll be able to enjoy this session. Again, we welcome each one of you to this session. And again, my name is Mashate Silva, and I work for ASLM. So please allow me to start going into the details of our special session today. So we are discussing the Diagnostic Evidence Hub and its role in accelerating uptake of diagnostic innovations. As we may be aware, we have information, we have publications out there that half of the world's population actually has limited access to diagnostics. And we know that diagnostics are very, very critical in public health care. We need to be able to diagnose conditions, detect them in time. And the experiences we have had recently in COVID have demonstrated that a lot can be done if tremendous effort and commitment is put in. We have seen rapid diagnostics come on board. We have seen many mobile testing sites drive the testing. We have seen sample collection through community health workers and other modalities come into place. But again, we notice that we need to extend this effort to another level. We need to do more. We need to do the same for the other areas that are within our public health care space. We have other diseases, we have HIV, we have TB, and many others. And that's why this session becomes very important. Access to quality diagnosis is important. But when you look at some of the publications we have, like a publication from the Lancet, indicates that nearly half of the global population lacks access to basic diagnostic services for common diseases. And what does this mean? It means we need to do more such that we have the greater part of our communities accessing diagnostic services. Early diagnosis is one of the basic steps that we need to do if we are to manage many of these conditions in time. And although almost 50% of the global population lacks access to basic diagnostic services, the biggest impact actually is on the low middle income countries. The problem is even bigger. So therefore, we need to guarantee easy access to diagnostics if we are to achieve the global commitments. And we have examples of the global commitments here. We have the universal health coverage. We have the global health security. All these are commitments that if we are to achieve them, then we need to ensure that access to diagnostics is actually guaranteed. But while we do all this, we know that traditionally most of the diagnostics that we are having in our settings, in our communities, are actually done in centralized laboratories. But there have been innovations in technologies where we are having in vitro diagnostic devices that can be utilized to actually scale up these testing services. But these in vitro diagnostic devices have different courses they take, especially regarding registration in the African continent, in the African context. These processes take long. Different countries have different processes, and there are issues to do with import permits. There are varying lead times. There's limited access to information. Again, we also have the element that has been we have been having for a while regarding the human capabilities to be able to do some of this testing. So the experiences we get here is that much as the devices are out there, they are available. Some of them have been pre-qualified by the Health Organization. The process for registration in Africa take a toll on us having community accessing testing. It leads to inability for products to be registered in the countries. Different countries launch this product at different times, and therefore we need to do more about this. When you look at information got from other sources, case studies of the outbreak of Ebola indicated that if we had, or if we have early diagnosis, a big bunch of lives could be saved. Models suggest that early diagnosis could actually control 30 to 70% of the cases, saving potentially thousands of lives. And this therefore calls for us to ensure that early diagnosis, we get it through ensuring that we take advantage of these existing technologies to increase community access to testing. This is a pathway that illustrates in practice routinely what usually happens when innovations come on board. So we have, starting with the needs assessment. For example, we used an example of COVID-19. COVID-19 came, we had demand, we needed to do something. Now we need to have a diagnostic product available to have the services available to the people. But this pathway has many processes, okay? We need to identify which technology is available, which technology is pre-qualified, which technology. And then after getting the technology or these devices, there are in-country processes, and these country processes take long, more than a year, up to about 16 months. After the evaluations, the validations, there are processes for review by the in-country mechanisms. And often these could take up to about 3 months. Then there are regulatory approvals. This is followed by other processes which include like program committee approvals. So we realize that all these processes to happen until when the product can now be put into a procurement process and it goes through a competitive bidding process, it takes a lot of time, including the process for award, including supply programs. And then we see that on average, you are taking more than 36 or approximately 36 months to have a product registered. And through all these processes, it now means that we lose opportunities. This time is so long, and then people miss, or we miss to have communities getting these services, to have these new technologies. And because of this, we also go ahead and organize that even in areas where we have had evaluation of diagnostic kits, little has led to any other decisions made about the evaluation that have been done. We have examples here of some of the products that have been evaluated, where we have had in-country evaluations done. But this is a very good example of the TB lamp, where evaluations were done in a couple of countries. But when it came to registration, even after doing the evaluations, in the third row here, we realized that few countries still registered the product. Even including in the national guidelines, the countries even reduced further, even routine implementation. So realize that even with repeated evaluations in different countries, still there's poor recognition and reliance on the leading to multiple similar laboratory evaluations being done. So what does this mean? It means we need to work otherwise to ensure that we uptake these diagnostic innovations. Look at the device like PEPFAR. PEPFAR, we have had evaluations done in more than 20 countries. So to enable these processes, to improve on these processes, we need to devise a harmonized process that ensures that we improve access to disease diagnostics. We need to have formal, clear processes, adequate human resources, such that we manage the predictable times. We need to manage the costs. And to do this, we have had a wide range of stakeholders that have come up to see that we work together to ensure that we enable the registration processes for these IVDs in the African community. We have the World Health Organization, the Africa CDC, ASLM, and many other partners. So colleagues, in all this that we are trying to do, we don't just do it from the vacuum. Most of these products we are talking about are actually pre-qualified by the World Health Organization. They have gone through a wide range of other rigorous validations and verifications. And to add on this, to put it in perspective, we would like now to invite Dr. Susie to give us the perspective of the World Health Organization regarding the pre-qualification process for the IVDs. And then after Dr. Susie has made her presentation, we will now discuss more about the Diagnostic Hub, the reason for which we are having this call. So Dr. Susie, welcome. Please go ahead and share your presentation with the rest of the team. Thank you very much.
So my name's Dr. Susie Braniff. I'm a scientist who works with the in vitro diagnostic assessment team as part of the pre-qualification unit at WHO. Next slide, please. So today I want to give you an overview of the pre-qualification program that we have for IVDs and talk about what is actually assessed during pre-qualification. So I'll go through the basics of what happens in the dossier review, the performance evaluation, and the manufacturer's site inspection. And then I want to spend some time talking about the collaborative registration procedure. Next slide, please. So you may be aware that WHO has been involved in assessing in vitro diagnostics for a very long time, for more than 30 years, in fact. But since 2010, we have developed a program that makes our assessments more systematic so that we can be very transparent about the way we conduct the evaluation, and also so that we can show that what we look at meets international standards for performance, quality, and safety of an in vitro diagnostic. So the aim of our program is to facilitate access to these quality assured IVDs. We do not conduct evaluations for every kind of diagnostic that's out there. There's far too many. So what we have done is come up with a priority list. So within the current scope of pre-qualification, we will accept applications for IVDs to detect HIV, malaria, hepatitis C and hepatitis B, human papillomavirus, G6PD, cholera, syphilis, and very recently we've started this process for hemoglobin point of care testing and glucose meters and test strips. Our aim is to continue expanding the scope of pre-qualification, but that needs to happen over time. And we decide in consultation with other programmatic departments in WHO and stakeholders as to what has great public health importance in coming to the decision of what other products should be pre-qualified. So next year we start work on including tuberculosis tests in pre-qualification as well. Next slide, please. So the basic structure of a pre-qualification assessment is built on 3 pillars. We assess a product dossier, which is the manufacturer's information on how the product was designed, how it's manufactured, and how it's been validated. We conduct a performance evaluation to verify the manufacturer's claims for how that IVD works. And we conduct a site inspection for all manufacturing sites that are associated with that particular IVD. To the side, I've mentioned that we do a labelling review, and this is done during each phase of the assessment. So during the product dossier review, we're also looking at the instructions for use and seeing if they're satisfactory and providing feedback. Same with the performance evaluation. Our laboratory staff will be having a look and seeing if there's improvements that should be made. And the manufacturing site inspection will also generate information that can affect the labelling and make sure that it's adequate for the user. Next slide, please. So I'll give you just a little more detail about what happens during each of these three phases of the assessment. The first one I'll talk about is the product dossier. Now, this one takes the longest. This step requires the most time. We ask the manufacturer to provide us with quite a comprehensive dossier about their IVD. We have the instructions on our website that explain the technical specifications that we expect to be able to understand about their product, and all of that information should be present in the dossier that they give to us. At WHO, we work with external experts, and these people are subject matter experts for a particular type of IVD. And we'll send the dossier to them and ask them to go through it very closely to analyse the relevance and the quality of the information provided. So what they are looking for is that the manufacturer has generated data that supports their claims for the quality, safety, and performance of the device. And they will be checking to see that the appropriate validation studies have been done and that these have been well designed so that the conclusions that they reach about the product are backed up or supported by the evidence. There will also be consideration of whether we can see that there is a complete, accurate, and consistent collection of data over the whole life cycle of that IVD. Quite often when an IVD comes to WHO, it's already been produced for sometimes many, many years. And we want to be able to see how the product was designed, any changes that have been made over time, and to understand that there is a quality management system and appropriate documentation to show how that product has been managed. So we're looking from initial product design through the validation stages, the way it's been manufactured and at the different sites, if that's relevant, how they do their quality control and what steps in the process quality control occurs at, and then how they monitor the product once it's released out onto the market. In addition, we will be checking to see that the technical specifications for that type of product have been met. Things like the clinical sensitivity and specificity for the device. And the big question that we ask at WHO is this product appropriate for use by member states? We want to see that the manufacturer has considered the use of the product in all of the different settings that we know it will be used in if it is pre-qualified by WHO. So in particular, this relates to things like product stability. Has it gone through some transport stability testing so that if it's transported over a long distance for a long amount of time and there's a lot of temperature variation, can the manufacturer show us that this doesn't affect the performance of the test? Okay, next slide, please. So while the product dossier is undergoing review by a technical expert, we will also begin the process of conducting a performance evaluation. During this evaluation, we are looking at analytical, clinical, and operational performance. We are not trying to repeat the studies that the manufacturer has done when they validated the product. So we're not doing a validation. What we're doing is an independent verification of the performance of the IVD. We want to check that in our hands, does the IVD perform to the level that the manufacturer claims that it does? So the IVD will be challenged with a focus on its use in resource-limited settings and also in the context of any relevant WHO guidelines. Each evaluation follows a standard pre-qualification protocol. So for a particular type of device, for example, a HIV serology test, there is a protocol that needs to be followed for that evaluation. And all IVDs that are HIV serology tests will be evaluated following that same protocol. The goal of generating this additional data is to complement the verification and validation data that was submitted by the manufacturer in their product dossier, and also any findings that we have at the site inspection. So it's another piece of our analysis of this product. These evaluations currently take place at a WHO collaborating centre or at a laboratory that has been approved by WHO. So we have a number of performance evaluating laboratories who have been audited by WHO, and we know will follow the protocol that we have given them to conduct the evaluation, because we want to standardise the way these evaluations are performed. Next slide, please. So pillar 3 of the pre-qualification assessment is the manufacturing site inspection. What our assessors will be looking for is evidence of a fully implemented quality management system based on international standards. So this will include ISO 13485 and also the risk management system that's in place, which is ISO 14971. Our assessors will also consider the robustness of the product for WHO intended settings and users. And during the site inspection, it is mandatory that the product is in routine manufacturing. So our inspectors can see it being produced and can check that the appropriate quality control steps are occurring in real time. We will also be considering whether that manufacturer has sufficient capacity to ensure reliable delivery. When a product does become pre-qualified, that can mean that suddenly a lot of orders are placed for that product. And we want to make sure that the manufacturer will continue to make the product to the same standard in order to meet the increased demand. Next slide, please. So the decision about whether an IVD will be listed or become pre-qualified depends on all 3 aspects of the assessment being acceptable. So they must pass the dossier review stage, the site inspection, and the performance evaluation. At this point, a final labelling review will be performed to make sure all of the information is provided to the user and that it's accurate. And then WHO will put a public report about that IVD on our website, which gives a very high-level summary of the assessment that took place. And at this time, the product becomes eligible for WHO or UN procurement. So this is quite a quick overview of how the assessment occurs, but I'm hoping that you can see it's quite rigorous and also it's standardized. So we treat each particular IVD the same way as we do for any other one that comes in of that type. Next slide, please. So we have quite a few different IVDs listed at this point in time. You can check on our website for an up-to-date list. Every time a new product becomes pre-qualified, we update the list. At the moment, there's 102 IVDs listed. We have another 30 IVDs going through assessment at this point in time, and they're for various different analytes and in various different formats. Next slide, please. So picking up on some of the themes that Silva introduced for us, at WHO, we're very committed to accelerating access to in vitro diagnostics, but we want to make sure that they are diagnostics that are of good quality. So a regulatory approach that has been developed to create a pathway to facilitate access is the collaborative registration procedure. And it's based on a reliance type of regulation. We aim to accelerate country registration of IVDs that have already been pre-qualified through sharing information that is gathered by WHO pre-qualification in the assessment phase with national regulatory authorities. So the principle of this is that it's voluntary. For any manufacturer who has an IVD that is on the pre-qualification list, they can choose to be part of the collaborative registration procedure. But they must guarantee that if it is approved by the NRA, they will provide the same product as the one that was pre-qualified by WHO. It cannot be a different version. It cannot be manufactured at a different site. It must be the same. We maintain confidentiality of any data that is shared within this collaborative registration procedure. And the goal is to have a shorter timeline for the NRA to reach its decision. So I have a little schematic up on the slide to kind of show the flow of information. So at the top, we have the manufacturer who works with WHO during the pre-qualification process. And during this process, WHO produces reports about the dossier review, the site inspection, and the laboratory performance evaluation. Now, normally these are only shared with the manufacturer, but under the collaborative registration procedure, these confidential reports, with the permission of the manufacturer, can be shared with an NRA. So the NRA now has access to the detailed information in the WHO reports to help them with their decision on whether they will approve this product for sale in their country. The goal is to avoid duplication of effort. So by having access to the WHO reports, it is hoped that it will speed up the decision-making process at the NRA. And the target for CRP is to reduce that time down to 90 days. So as part of the CRP, WHO would share the product dossier review report, the site inspection report, and the performance evaluation report. Next slide, please. So it's called the CRP because it is a collaboration between 3 entities, and it does involve the signing of an official agreement before any information is shared. So the NRA, if they like to participate, they need to sign an agreement. They need to also nominate a focal point so WHO knows who to share the information with, and that person is taking responsibility to make sure that the CRP process moves forward. The manufacturer also needs to sign documentation giving official consent for WHO to confidentially share the pre-qualification reports with the focal point at the NRA. And once these agreements have been signed, WHO commits to sharing the reports with the NRA in a reasonable time frame. So we have a 30-day time frame to provide those reports. Next slide, please. So I'll just give you a quick overview of what is in those reports. The dossier review report is the WHO assessment of what the manufacturer has provided in their dossier. So the product information, the way it's been designed and manufactured, the product performance specifications, including sensitivity, specificity, and a number of other performance metrics. The review of the labeling, the commercial history of the product, the regulatory history, and the quality management system. So you will gain access to what we have assessed and the outcome of those assessments. The site inspection report will detail the scope of the inspection that was conducted, including the objectives and the limitations. It will provide information about the manufacturer that was gained on site and the inspection findings, such as the audit trails and the sources of evidence that were looked into, the evaluation and conclusions, and a list of non-conformities.
I think you went into the different channel. Just check your channel for translation.
Sorry, I haven't touched anything. I'm sorry if it's not working properly.
Yeah, I guess the interpreter had gone to the English channel.
Should I continue or wait?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So the site inspection report will also list the non-conformities and any observations, and also provide the grading of those non-conformities. And finally, the performance evaluation report will be provided for the product. This will detail the specific information about the version of the product that was tested, the specimen panels that were tested, and the reference results for those panels. You will be able to see the way the data analysis was conducted and what the results are. And there will also be an appraisal by the laboratory technician commenting on the ease of use of the product. The appendices to the report will contain all of the data that was generated during the evaluation, so it's quite comprehensive. Next slide, please. So these guidelines for the collaborative registration procedure for IVDs were published earlier this year. So we're still in the early stages of getting this program up and running, but we have learned a few things along the way. We know for the CRP to work, especially to meet that 90-day target, a clear regulatory pathway for IVDs needs to be in place with the NRA. And that good communication between the stakeholders, that is between the focal point at the NRA, the manufacturer of the IVD, and the PQ team at WHO is really important for us to be able to meet that timeline. I do want you to know that there is assistance available. It is a collaborative procedure, so WHO are one of the involved stakeholders. We have given information sessions to introduce the CRP with different NRAs who have shown interest. And for that first run through, the first product that you try to register using CRP, we can give you a workshop to show you the reports in more detail and help that process along. So far, we have 13 NRAs that have signed the CRP agreement, and we've shared reports for 7 different pre-qualified products. Next slide, please. So just to summarise, we hope that the collaborative registration procedure offers a pathway to accelerate access to IVDs that have already undergone quite an extensive evaluation during pre-qualification. It is a reliance mechanism, which means we hope to avoid duplication of effort. Once an NRA has access to the WHO reports, we hope that this will reduce the need to conduct additional evaluation of that product. The NRA experts can review the WHO findings and can also let us know if they have any questions. And we hope that this will accelerate their decision on registration. I will point out that the NRA is not obliged to grant access to that product. They can say that they do not approve the product. That is fine. So we're not telling you once you join the CRP, you must include the pre-qualified products on your list of available products. You are allowed to say that you've looked at the evidence and you've decided not to approve it. The decision still rests with the NRA. But our goal is to have a shorter pathway to that decision for national registration of the IVDs that have been pre-qualified. And we also hope this will help optimise resources at the NRA so that you can spend time and energy and your limited evaluation capacity, looking at IVDs that are not pre-qualified, but for the ones that have been, hopefully the process will be faster. So the guidelines for CRP are available on the WHO website, and I've included the link on the slide. Next slide, please. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Susie Braniff, and I think you have done an excellent job in presenting to us what WHO is doing, what WHO has done. Thank you so much. And your presentation that you've just shared with us provides us a very good foundation and a rationale as to why the next piece of our discussion we are going to go through becomes relevant and very important. So we'll be diving into now how do we relate what we have already just shared with the Diagnostics Evidence Hub. But Dr. Susie, while you were presenting, a number of questions came through. Some of them, you have already answered them, but we request that you through some of them, such that we give you a couple of minutes to respond to them. So colleagues, having heard from WHO, we will now look further and discuss more about the Diagnostic Evidence Hub. And in the next few slides and minutes, we'll be sharing more about what this Diagnostic Hub is all about. Colleagues, this hub is hosted on the ASLM website. We have the link there. And currently, we already have products for HIV that are already on the platform, on the hub. We have additional products which are in development, that is TB and malaria. And like we've discussed in the earlier segment, there are more diseases that are disturbing our communities. We will have more of these considered in the future. And please, through the chat, you can let us know which of the diseases we could possibly prioritize. So on this Evidence Hub, we just need to highlight that it aims simply to accelerate in-country registration and adoption of the diagnostic innovations, and it provides a platform for quick knowledge, access of information, and we are mainly targeting a certain group of stakeholders, the national regulatory bodies, the policymakers, laboratory scientists, and it provides an opportunity to access information which is consolidated, particularly on point of care assays and all the other innovative diagnostics. The data presented on this hub is actually a pool set of data, and it is in one place. We already know that trying to get some of this verification performance data and all the other things at times can be very cumbersome, and we have tried to solve this problem. Colleagues, we need to highlight that the data presented here is data that has been obtained from published works, and we mainly focus on devices, IVDs that are WHO pre-qualified, and the data also from renowned bodies that have published their work. So in the next couple of slides, we will look at some of the key elements of this diagnostic hub, but we need to draw attention that in case you see any product or any manufacturer, please note that ASLM or its partners does not necessarily endorse any manufacturer. We are just providing information and we are basing on available facts. This is important for us to know that we are just providing information. So how do you navigate the Diagnostic Evidence Hub that is housed at the ASLM website? When you visit the ASLM website, you will land on the home page and you will go to the tab of what we do. And then you have a drop down of a couple of options. And these options, one of the options, which is the second option, is the Diagnostic Evidence Hub. When you click on that hub, you will now go to the next page and you will land on this Diagnostic Hub. We will go through this briefly, but we thought it's important for you to know. So when you're on the Diagnostic Evidence Hub, it has a couple of sections, which include a section where I have the different new diagnostic products. And currently, we already have HIV, which has been uploaded. Tuberculosis, malaria, these are still undergoing development, and more diseases will be coming on board. The beauty with this platform is that it provides a one-stop point for a stakeholder to access additional resources regarding evaluation and verification. If you'd like to read more, we have that section. And when, for example, you reach out and access the HIV, you now access the different products whose data has already been uploaded on this website. And when you go to each of the products, we will take an example of such a product. You get the summary of the information. Dr. Susie already mentioned that most of the information we have here is high-level information that summarizes the key things. For example, for this kit, it gives you who the manufacturer is, the compatibility, what it detects, the analyte, and also the quality standard that has been used to pre-qualify it and when it was listed. It also provides you detailed information about the data about that product. And we have a section where we have detailed summary of the different publications that we have actually compiled and put to make available to our stakeholders. So at this point, please allow me quickly stop here and take you quickly to the website such that you're able to see how this facility can be utilized. So when you click on this link and come to the ASLM website, you are going to land on the ASLM official page. On this page, we have different tabs. And one of the tabs is what we do. And under here, you have the Diagnostic Evidence Hub. This is where all the information has been put about the Diagnostic Hub. So this Diagnostic Hub, on its page, when you reach there, this is the page you are going to land on. And it will provide you with a summary of what the Diagnostic Hub is all about, its aims. And then when you go to the bottom, it now gives you a summary of the products that have already been uploaded on this. In this case, we have HIV, we have tuberculosis, and we have malaria, like I had explained earlier. So for purposes of demonstration, please allow me use the HIV to illustrate what we are saying here. For example, here we have products that are for point of care early infant diagnosis. And these are some of the products. So each of these products has its own icon. When you click on this, it takes you to the details and the data and information about that product. For example, HIV, expert HIV-1 qual, this is a product. If you want to view the product, you click on it. And there are many more. If you want the one for viral load, these are the products. If you want products on HIV self-testing, you click on them. So in the interest of time, please allow me click on one of the products, which is the expert HIV-1 qual, to view the product information. So when we click on it, we will see that it takes you now to the page where you're going to get all the information about this product. And this is what we had explained earlier. It gives you the product name, the manufacturer, and all the details that a reader or a stakeholder would need. Where I would like us to look at again is the section of looking at the full data. When you look at this section, you notice that we have a tab for data summary sheet. We have performance graph. This one shows in summary, when you look at all the data, the issues of concordance, sensitivity, and specificity. How did that product perform? For example, specificity here, it's about 99%, 99.7%. So you click on it and then to give you that. Then you also provide information on errors depending on how the evaluation was conducted on that kit. So the data summary sheet, here we have the different publications. And we have, if we clicked on it, it will give you a full list of all the information about that. You could decide to search by author or the year when the publications were released, or the country where the assessment was done or the evaluation was done. So here we see that we have a wide range of the publications that have been published about this product. So we have the author, we have the year when it was published, we have the publication type. Remember, we said the information we have here is from published work or from reputable organizations. So you can choose if you want a publication about, if it's from a journal, is it a conference abstract? And then the year of or the type of the study, is it a field evaluation? Is it a performance evaluation? These are the options that you look out for. Then the country, then the study period, then the intervention. And in case you want to read more about a particular article, then at the end, you scroll up to the end and you get the details on how that particular article is actually cited. The beauty with this summary is that it gives you the components agreement or the agreement, the sensitivity for each product, the specificity, and then the error rates. And all this information is just in one place for the different publications done across different countries and different areas of the continent. And this is the same for the rest of the products. It's just one example. But if you went for the other products, you'll see many more of these publications. So this is an illustration and a demonstration of how one can use this evidence hub to get more information. And the other component that we needed to show that this platform has an option. If you would like to, if you're on this page and you'd like to possibly analyze this data further and look at it later, on the data sheet, there's an option of exporting. You can export this information to Excel if you want to. So if you have time, we don't have much time here, you could get time and see how you can do that. There are options on how maybe I could possibly demonstrate. There's a function here where you can say you would like to export full data. Then you export either as an Excel file or a CSV file, and you export all this information. For the interest of time, let me just show another page, and then we'll allow some time to Dr. Susie to respond to some of the questions. So that is as far as these products are concerned. And when you come to the section where I talked about evaluation and verification resources, please get time and read more about these resources. They are very useful. More information that is available, what Dr. Susie has been talking about also has been put in one place here. We have access to the WHO pre-qualification regulation and pre-qualification details. When you click on it, it takes you to the details on the World Health Organization website, and you read as much information as you'd like about it. Also, there are other stakeholders like the Africa Medical Devices Forum. When you click there, it will give you all more information. And again, we have also a link to the ASLM resources. So please, we encourage you, request you to find some time and access all these resources for you to get more information about these diagnostics. So this is just an illustration that more of this is just in one place, and we encourage you to visit these pages. So at this point, I can now quickly rush back to the presentation, and then I summarize to allow Dr. Susie to actually respond to some of the questions that have been posted in the chat. So in terms of the other bit of what we are to discuss, I think we have illustrated this. We have illustrated these other components and all this. So colleagues, this is all what is about the Diagnostic Evidence Hub. A lot of information is there. Please feel free, get time, and visit this page, get all this information. So as part of the exercise for our session today, we have a couple of questions here that we would like you to respond to. Use 1 or 2 minutes to respond to. And ASLM with partners is asking a couple of questions. What are some of the challenges that countries are still facing when trying to introduce these diagnostic products? Which aspects of the Diagnostic Evidence Hub are most helpful in addressing some of these challenges? And how can the Diagnostic Evidence Hub be expanded to better support stakeholders to introduce these kits. So we have put in the post on the chat on your screen, you could have seen some polls. Please feel free to respond to some of them. And as we respond to the polls, colleagues, I would like to use the remaining few minutes to allow Dr. Susie to respond to some of the questions that have been raised. Dr. Susie, please confirm if you have seen some of the questions or you'd like me to read out them to you. Thank you, Dr. Susie.
Hi, thanks, Silva. I have seen some of the questions, and thank you so much to everyone who's been putting questions in the chat. I've tried to answer some by typing an answer, but I might just speak to some of them now. So there's been a few questions around, you know, can countries skip the evaluation step because the IVD is already undergone pre-qualification? So that's what we're proposing under the collaborative registration procedure. Is we want NRAs to consider the evaluation that was done as part of pre-qualification before they decide if it's necessary to do more evaluation, because that can really slow things down. And I will point out, because someone asked, the pre-qualification assessment is actually quite a long process in itself. So it often takes 18 months to 24 months for a product to be pre-qualified. So you can imagine if it's already taken, say, 2 years from the application to being listed, if a manufacturer then is going to other countries and their process is taking another 2 years or 3 years, we've got a product that's already been identified as having good quality that is still stuck in this cycle of endless evaluations. And I think Silva demonstrated that really beautifully in his slide earlier on, that quite often all of these evaluations don't result in the product being widely used in a lot of different countries. So that is the basis of the collaborative registration procedure. I see that someone asked, why can't we just share the reports with everyone already? Now, these are confidential information. The manufacturer enters into pre-qualification because we are going to assess their product, and if it doesn't meet our requirements, then it won't be listed. But they have the option to withdraw the product if they find out that it's not going to meet our requirements. So we agree to keep that information confidential, and we have our list for the products that have passed. But under the collaborative registration procedure, we have confidentiality agreements in place with the NRA and the consent of the manufacturer that we can provide these more detailed reports. And the reason why we think having these reports will help the NRA is you can see exactly what we've looked at. You can see what questions we asked, where we've gone back to the manufacturer for clarification or asked them to do some additional studies. And in the case of the performance evaluation, you can see the sample panels we've tested, and we try and gather a panel that represents a global population. So it's collected from many different countries, and it's not just all collected in Europe, for example. So we hope that sharing this information with the experts at the NRA will allow them to reach a decision without doing more testing or a more detailed dossier review, because they can see the reasons that that product's been pre-qualified. And if it meets their internal criteria for authorising the registration of that product, then we have been able to speed the process up. I know we're getting a little bit short of time, and I don't want to keep talking, Silva, if there's more things that you would like to do before our hour is up.
Yeah, thank you so much. Now we have just 4 minutes to top of the hour, and we respect our colleagues' time. And so many questions have come into the chat. Colleagues, thank you so much for the comments. We shall be posting these later. But 2 particular questions have come up, Susie, that you need to comment on. One is that does WHO have an idea of how many countries have skipped their in-country verification or evaluation processes and followed the WHO already pre-qualified products? And the other one is it possible to, so maybe first respond to that one and I ask the other one. Yeah.
So we have 13 countries at the moment who have signed up to use the collaborative registration procedure. It's not a one size fits all though. So each country needs to develop their own SOP for how the collaborative registration procedure will work with their own registration procedure. But at the moment, we have 13 countries that have committed to doing that, but we would like to expand that much more broadly. So we're very interested to talk to other NRAs if they think that the collaborative registration procedure will work for them. But I will point out, it was in my slides, that there already needs to be an existing pathway to register IVDs in the country to be able to add the collaborative registration procedure alongside that as an alternate mechanism. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Susie. And from the polls, we see that most of the colleagues are saying that on the evidence, Diagnostic Evidence Hub, one of the tests that we need to quickly include is COVID-19, hepatitis. And colleagues, thank you so much. ASLM and partners have had. We shall be responding to that. Thank you so much for that. So Dr. Susie, thank you so much for those comments and for the feedback. And colleagues, we are remaining with barely 2 minutes to the top of the hour. But we would like to highlight something that as we continue to augment these efforts, ASLM would like to appreciate the support from the different partners that have made this possible. WHO and many others, because without partners, this wouldn't be possible. But Dr. Susie, as we use the remaining 1.5 minutes, we know that countries are very passionate about their in-country regulations. They are passionate about quality. May you please give us a parting shot and general guidance on what we have discussed and how you advise stakeholders to go around the issue of in-country verification, on top of what we have already discussed. A parting shot, please, as we come to the end of the session.
Okay, I know that everyone's really passionate about this topic, and I am too, because we deserve quality IVDs, and they do exist. So I hope that pre-qualification can be used as broadly as possible. And we hope that through this regulatory procedure, instead of dictating that these are the tests you must use, we want it to be a conversation. So we know the NRAs know their country well, they know their market. And so in the collaborative procedure, we have the opportunity to not only share the knowledge we have, but to also learn what is the most useful in different circumstances. So it's a positive feedback loop. So I'm glad that we had so much interaction today, and I hope that people can rely on the pre-qualification listing and engage with us if you have any questions. So I've kept the Diagnostics mailbox email address on my presentation, and you can always reach me there if you have any specific questions. But thank you for the opportunity for presenting today.
Thank you, Dr. Susie, and colleagues. Thank you so much for sparing your time to attend this. At the end of this session, we are having the feedback. Dr. Susie was talking about the feedback loop. We're also seeking for your feedback on how this session has gone. Please spare a few seconds and you respond to the feedback on how you feel about this session and where we need to improve. Colleagues, this has been a very, very important discussion. Thank you so much for so many chats, the comments, the questions. Due to the effect and the limitation of time, we may not be able to respond to all the questions at this time, but we get an opportune time and post them. Get some time and visit our ASLM YouTube to get some of the responses to all these questions. To our partners, ASLM cannot exist without you. Thank you so much. For the colleagues who attend this session, thank you so much. And please, we request you to spread the gospel about the work that's done by ASLM. And as we finally come to the last seconds of the session, we encourage you to stay safe. We know the Omicron is here. Let's go get vaccinated, stay safe, such that we survive and be available to serve our communities. We respect your time. Thank you so much. Let's end here until we meet again. Please check in your inbox for our next session. Bye-bye for now, and bye-bye. Greetings to everyone. Please stay safe. Bye-bye.